Watch this video if you want to learn more about self-image and how our self-image is actually our internal image and not external. Before we get into today's video, I just want to remind you about our amazing card game for couples called Better Topics that will help you communicate a lot better with your partner and still have a lot of fun because you're playing a game. Make sure to get your own physical cards either from our website or Amazon. And for those of you who are not very inclined towards physical card games and board games, we have you covered as we have recently launched our Better Topics app as well. You can find both of those either on Apple Store or Google Play Store. Also, if you use the code DI10, you will also get your first month off our premium subscriptions. And now let's get into today's topic, which is self-image and how is this actually an internal image rather than external. And to explain more about this, I have invited Joyan from Find Your Joy with Joyan podcast, and she will explain more about this.
So, hi, Joyan, and thank you for coming today. And I'm very excited about what you have to share with our viewers. As I have read them, your bio, I found few very, very, very interesting things in it, and few things that I would want to touch on today. And the first one is, tell us a bit more about self-image is not your external image. Why is that? And how did you even come across, this knowledge?
Sure. First of all, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to your show. So I'm actually a self-image empowerment coach. And so how did I come across this idea of self-image is that, actually my background is fashion. So, and many people get this wrong. I understand self-image is not the external image, it's your internal image. Yes, I have been working with people on their external image for so many years. And which is why today I'm so passionate about these topics, because while I was working in the fashion industry, it seems like on the outside world, it seems like I was happy, I was confident, my life was perfect, and I had my life figured out because there was an image, right? If you would, there was an image, there was a persona that I showed to the world. Well, I'm not saying it wasn't me. I'm not saying, I was faking it or anything like that, but it was only one side of what people didn't see is that on the inside world, I have lost myself completely. I was sad, I was depressed, and I was suicidal actually. So it was a totally different world, my outside world and my internal world, which is then I discovered the power of self-image. And then I dive deep into the psychology of self-image and become obsessed with the concept, because it truly changed my life from being sad, depressed, and suicidal to the woman I am today. So that's what I do. And so what is self-image, right? You see, you and I, we all have an image of ourselves. And this image, like I said, is not the external image. It's not what you see in the mirror. What you see in the mirror is the reflection of your physical being, but that is not how you see you. How you see you is in your mind. It's your own perception of yourself and how you feel about yourself when no one is around. And I always tell my clients, this is good news. Why? Because it means how other people see you, what other people think of you really don't matter. How you see yourself is what matters the most. And which is why the only person's opinion you should really care about and really pay attention to is your own opinion of yourself. And the truth is we can't control how other people see and perceive us, right? It's in their mind. But we have full control of how we see and perceive ourselves. And that is our own responsibility. So if you have a negative self-image, meaning you are struggling with low self-confidence, low self-esteem, if you see yourself negatively, there are ways to change that because your self-image comes from you. So yeah, there's the idea of self-image, and it's also what I help my clients with. So I hope they answer your questions.
Yes, it did. And I think this is so, true and so important as well for people to hear this from more and more other people as well. But I do want to ask one more thing, because, you said that when people would look at your life, from the exterior, everything would seem great and like you would have the perfect life and everything is, you have everything together. But then inside you did not feel this. Why do you think, this difference appears, from what we tend to project, for others to see about us and how we actually feel inside?
I guess it was true for me because I speak for myself because that was, my experience. It was my ego. I didn't want anyone to see the less than perfect version of me. I kept all my struggles in the dark. I didn't want anyone to see that, that version of me, which is I'm not perfect. I'm weak, I'm vulnerable. I don't want anyone to see that. So I only show people this happy, outgoing, confident. Yes, I am, I'm all these things. But at the same time, I only showed that part of me, but we all know that we are not perfect, right? We have so many versions of ourselves, right? The way we present ourselves in front of our husband, in front of our partner, in front of our family, in front of our co-workers is very different.
Yes.
And your true authentic self, I would say, is when you are with yourself, which is why I always ask people to ask yourself, how do you really feel about yourself when you are alone?
Yes, right? I found this a lot as well. And especially in, the dating area, because this is something I'm very passionate about. I found to struggle with this a lot because I was looking at, in my initial relationships, I was looking at people from more of an exterior point of view, as in how would they look, what type of job do they have, rather than to see who are they really inside and then focus on that. Once I've actually understood that, all those exterior things don't really matter because they come and go and they can be changed, if the person wants to. And at the end of the day, when you're at home with your partner, all those exterior things don't even matter anymore because you are with that person who are they inside.
Yes.
And I think this is very, very powerful. Yes. And once I started focusing on, what was most important, as in, how is that person actually, inside, what their dreams are, what their values are, and all of these, then I've actually met, the perfect partner for me that we resonate with and that we're happy with on the outside and inside as well.
Yeah.
And it was very powerful. Sorry, also that, you mentioned in your bio that you came close to suicidal. How did you turn that, that feeling of being so close to a suicidal step to actually empower you to the point where now you help other people, improve their self-image?
Sure. So actually it's a pretty long story, but I will not touch on that today. The reason why I do what I do today is because I was sick and tired of putting out just an image. I was really sick of myself, of my life, of hiding behind this perfect image that I have created for myself over the years. And I realized that, no amount of changing our external image is going to bring us any closer to really knowing ourselves and connecting to our true authentic self. But, don't get me wrong, I love fashion. We are all women, we all love fashion, right? And I still love fashion. I still dress up and all that. But what I'm saying is that it starts from here. At the core of everything we do is our self-image and our own relationship with ourselves. It ultimately decides what we choose to present of ourselves and how we choose to show up to the world every single day. So from suicidal to becoming empowered, of course, it didn't happen overnight. Actually, it happened kind of like overnight because when I know this is pretty intense because there was the story behind it. So actually, I became a coach in the beginning of lockdown. I started my coaching journey in the beginning of lockdown because I didn't know who I was anymore. When I had been, when all those distractions have been taken away from me because for lockdown, my work, going to the gym, hanging out with friends and all those things, I couldn't do that anymore. So all I had left was me and my depression. And that was a very scary place to be. I didn't know how to face it, and I got so lost and depressed, and I didn't know what to do in my life anymore. So in that moment, I was like, since you don't know what to do with your life anymore, might as well just end your life. So, but I couldn't, I'm still here today, which is why I said to myself, Joyan Chan, if you can't die today, you only have one choice, which is to live your life. And if you choose to live your life because it's your choice, Do you want to live or do you want to die? It's your choice. Now, make a choice now, right? This is enough. So it was a moment where I said to myself, enough is enough. I don't want to live my life this way. This is not my life. That was the moment that I had my huge awakening, and I had this inner voice, it came from a higher self, I believe, that says to me, you have to tell your story, don't hide anymore. Just be real, be the real you. So I started telling my stories, and I shared everything. Like, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal, I share it on my videos, and that's where I started, posting videos and stuff like that. And people listened, and they actually got inspired, and they thanked me for telling the truth, because I'm not alone, right? Everyone was struggling back then in the beginning of lockdown. I knew I'm not only one. So that was how I empowered myself, because I made a choice in that moment. And I was so committed to living my life and living my best life. So I started sharing my stories, and eventually it led me down the path of coaching. I realized that if I can empower myself, if I can turn my life around, I can help others do the same. So that's how I discovered coaching as well and do what I do today. Yeah.
That's such an amazing story, because I believe, especially, because you've been, through all those feelings and you've pushed through them, you can understand people who are going through the same right now. And then, they can also relate to you because they are there, or they've been there, and then they're trying to move out of that dark place. I can relate to this as well, so much. I've also had, periods in my life where I was seemingly happy from the outside. I had everything anyone would need, really. I had my own house, I had a really good job, I had everything, and still I wasn't happy, and as you say, it is actually a choice. And now, once you've taken that decision, you've taken that choice, basically, it wasn't easy, but you have still embraced it, and you moved on with it. Now when I tell people that, even, for example, having a good relationship, it is a choice if you want to have a good relationship. And people, keep telling me all these excuses why it's not a choice, why it is out of their hands, why is it, that's something that they cannot really do anything about. Whereas I'm trying to explain that, it is your life. At the end of the day, you can choose how to behave in your relationship. You can choose whether to work on your relationship or not. You can choose, if you want to experience great things or not so great, it's all a choice. And it is also a choice whether we want to be proactive about it, or we want to just react to whatever is happening around us and maybe to us as well. Yeah. So I think this is very, very, very powerful. And also I love the fact, how you are also empowering people, and helping them because they can relate to you, because they are there, or maybe they've been there as well. And I think this is great, because I myself am in a very, very similar situation, where now that I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and I went through that dark tunnel and I came out on the other side, stronger and wiser as well. I want to help people and, maybe shed a bit of light at the end of their tunnel so they can see it, so they can keep pushing, because, the dark times are coming to an end, and then better times are ahead. That is such a powerful thing. And what do you think are, few little things that, people that might hear us today and that might be, in a very dark place as you've been, and I've been as well. What do you think are the first few things that they could do to start bringing themselves out of that state?
Well, I would say, when I was depressed and I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, all I did was that, I asked myself, do I really want this? Do I really want to feel depressed? Like, how long more do I want to feel depressed? Right? How long have I been feeling this way? And does it serve me? So really ask yourself the questions, do I want this? This is how I want to live my life. Is this who I am? Am I a depressed person for the rest of my life? Is that what I want? If your answer is no, I believe all of us don't want to feel depressed. No one wants to feel depressed. So if you tell yourself no, then when are you going to change? When are you going to make that decision? When enough is enough? Because you have everything in your power to pull yourself out of that darkness. You don't need anyone to come and save you, because no one is coming to save you. This is the truth, right? When I was suicidal, no one is coming. No one knew. I was alone all by myself. The only person I had was me. So I had to empower myself. I have to save myself. I have to pull myself out of darkness, because I was responsible for my life. I am responsible for my life, right? Your current results, your feelings, everything that you are going through right now, you are responsible for that. And you have the power to change that in just a second.
I love this so much. I mean, I think we grew up too many generations of women especially grew up with this belief that we are just a damsel in distress, and then we should wait for the knight in shining armor and come and save us. And then if he comes, then everything will be great. But as you said, nobody's coming, and you have to be your own savior. Basically, you have to be that person who drags, yourself out, basically, out of this by taking one step at a time. Now, what I would want to just add to that is that, maybe that change, it won't happen overnight, as the decision is, because the decision is a one-time thing. But once you decide to change your course in life and, to work on yourself and on your self-image as well, that is a process in itself, and it takes time. But even now, after years and years of working on myself and my self-image, I still cannot say that, yes, my self-image is amazing or it's great all the time. I mean, from my point of view, it kind of fluctuates depending on what type of day I have as well and all of that. But still, I am already in a so much better place than I was a few years ago. And I really think, that people, and especially women, I say this because this has been going on for generations, where women had to be pretty and stay in a nice corner and just, that's it, that was the most of the things that people would expect from a woman to do, just sit there and be pretty, and wait for their savior to come and save them. Because, if you're in a relationship or if you get married, it's like all your problems will disappear because you got married. Whereas I would say it's not that. And, if you get married, especially with the wrong person for you, it will just add to your problems, and it will just hit very hard in your self-image as well. But once you work on your self-image and you get to a point where, you know that you deserve better, and you expect better from others, then obviously you will definitely meet a better life partner for yourself. Or if you're already in a relationship, then your partner most likely will follow your lead as well, and they will improve their life as well. Obviously, if they don't, then that warrants a different type of discussion, whether the partner should still be together or not. But most times, from what I've seen, is that partners will not necessarily drag one another out of, this pit, but they will influence each other to climb out of this, situation and dark place. It is very interesting to me how, the pandemic itself warranted this very big shift, in your career as well, as it has in mine. And I am sure it has impacted so many other people. Because even with Better Topics, I was working on it for close to a year at that point, but I didn't really put it out there because I didn't feel I was ready yet. I didn't feel the game was ready yet. But then when the pandemic came, I realized that there are so many people stuck at home, as you were. They couldn't really focus on their careers anymore. They couldn't go out anymore with friends. They couldn't do anything else to distract them from the real issues that were going on with themselves, within their relationship. And I thought, this is the best time for people to sit down and have real discussions, with themselves, with their partner, with their family, and so on. And it's strange that there were some people last year who said that actually this pandemic is a blessing in disguise, that many people might not see it at first, but once we're through it, we will look back and we will still see, you know, how many good shifts it provoked, basically, because it forced people to take a decision. It forced people to do things that they normally wouldn't have done.
Yeah. I guess without the pandemic, we wouldn't even be here talking to each other today, right?
Yes.
I wouldn't know what I would still be doing. Maybe I was still sad and depressed because I didn't have the wake-up call, which is the lockdown, the pandemic, right? Yeah.
Or maybe you would have put that, you know, depression on the back burner, and you would have focused on the exterior things.
Yeah.
To a point, because even that, I think it comes to a point where, you know, your mind and your soul has to say, okay, stop, I can do this. And I've seen situations where people were so depressed that they were, you know, attempting suicide because they literally couldn't find a way out, and they were so miserable inside, although, you know, looking from the outside, everything seemed perfect for them. And another thing I wanted to ask is, you know, as you're in Singapore, how is depression regarded there? For example, in the UK, depression is, you know, a recognized disease. It is treated as such. People get time off for it from work. And, you know, it is a very, very serious illness, and it is considered serious. People are sent to, you know, to have therapies for it and such. But for example, in Eastern European countries, it is not recognized as a disease. That doesn't mean that people don't have it in those countries. They actually still do. It's just not recognized by the authorities as an actual disease. And they are just struggling with it. And, you know, they cannot really have time off because they feel depressed. And in many East European countries, for example, it is also mocked, you know, if you say that you're depressed. It's not considered a real illness, which I think is quite sad because, as I said, you know, people still have it. That doesn't mean that if they don't recognize it, it's not there. It is. It's just they take action when that leads to other more serious, you know, illnesses or diseases, but they don't take care of it, you know, in the very incipient forms.
Yeah, so here in Asia, I believe it's a taboo. You know, no one wants to talk about it. Actually, no one gets a day off because you are depressed. No one, and it is actually something that no one wants to talk about. So when I was diagnosed with depression, you know, I actually didn't tell anyone because I was ashamed of being depressed. I was afraid of being judged, being mistreated, being misunderstood. So I didn't tell anyone. I went to see a psychiatrist on my own, myself. I went to see therapists myself. And that's how I found I had depression. And I didn't want to tell anyone. You know, I was still keeping it to myself. And so I would say in Asia, it's not the case. It is not recognized until the lockdown. Actually, people started talking about it more and more because they realize it's important to take care of your own mental health. And it's so I say, you know, why do we have to wait for something bad to happen to realize that we have to take care of our own mental well-being, right? It's too late. Sometimes it's too late. Taking care of your own mental well-being is something that you should practice every single day, you know, which is why I do yoga and meditation every day, because I want to make sure I'm grounded and I'm always connected to myself. So I don't, even though I'm still, you know, like you said, we're still human. We experience ups and downs in life, right? But we can always come back to ourselves because we now have the resources to deal with all those emotions, right? We've been through it. We know how we dealt with it. And so we can better handle it now when it comes again. So yeah, I would say it's not the case in Asia here. But eventually I did share, you know, I did share openly, you know, I'm depressed to everyone. Yeah, which is why I attracted people from all over the world and they listen to my story and, you know, really like thank me. But I do get judgment though. I do get judgment. And I remember, this is a funny one. Actually, I got depressed for many years, but I didn't know I was depressed. I thought I was just emotional, right? Like a lot of my friends said, you're just being emotional, you know, just stop crying, like stop being a baby. So when I was in a relationship with my ex boyfriend, and I got really depressed. Because partly it's because of the relationship. It was a toxic relationship. So, and I told him, I suspect that I have depression. What he said to me was, no, people don't say they have depression when they are depressed. He said people with depression wouldn't say they have depression. So I believe him. And so I thought I was just being emotional because he said I'm just being emotional. So yeah, I would say it's not. But now I'm glad that people are, slowly opening up to the idea of talking more about it here in Asia. And I'm really happy to see that. Yeah.
I think, with depression as well, it's quite similar with women empowerment. The more we talk about it, the more we bring it up with people around us, the more other people will hear and they will join, let's say, the cause in a way. Now, I'm not saying that, people should just put everything down to depression, because sometimes it's not, sometimes it's just different things. But I think the more we talk about it, the more other people see that even you, even me, we were in that situation as well. They will see that, as more people had it, it is, I wouldn't say normal, because I don't think it's normal to be depressed, but it is something that many people struggle with and many people work with. I mean, I know when I first started talking with it, I was very fortunate that when I started having it and I started having symptoms of it, I started reading about it. And as you, I went to a therapist as well. And then, that put things into perspective. And the good thing is that, when you actually go to a therapist who is licensed in something like this, you get the confirmation that that is it, although it might be to different degrees, that is it. And then when although it might be a bit scary because you don't really know what to do with it once it's depression, but once at least what to take action towards. Because, if you just suppress it, if you just put it there, and you keep pushing it down, either with food or with different dependencies or, all these things that people try to do to make themselves better, but most of them focus on the external things rather than starting working on the internal things, which are, the most important ones and the ones that stay longer with us. And they are the most effective ones as well. And, one thing that, I really liked when you touched upon about the self-image is that the self-image is our image about ourselves, and only we can influence that. I mean, there are people who allow themselves to be influenced by other people, but if we work on it and if we are, confident enough in our self-image, then nobody can take that away. We don't depend on other people's opinion about us. And because I always feel that, even with, and I always bring back the discussion towards relationships as well, because this relates so much to relationships too, that, if you know what you want exactly in your relationship, what you want to experience, what your main values are, and you are confident in your self-image, you have the power in your hand. The moment you rely on other people's opinion, that's when you gave your power away and you are at their mercy, basically.
Yeah, totally. I love that so much.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else you would like to tell our viewers today before leaving?
Sure, I have so much to share. I want to share something about relationship as well, which is, because I work with a lot of women who are struggling with self-worth, self-esteem, and self-confidence. And a lot of them are actually single. So I want to say that if you are single and you are struggling with self-worth and self-esteem and you're walking around, searching for someone, if you hold a self-image of yourself as unworthy, unloved, and unhappy, and broken and not enough, you are always get stuck in this self-image that doesn't really serve you. And guess who you attract, right? You attract people who don't appreciate you. You will attract people who don't value you as much. And I can't say this enough, it's not how others see you that matters. It's how you see yourself. I know it may sound cheesy, but you are not here to make other people understand you, right? You are here to understand who you are and what do you want. in terms of relationship also, right? What do you really want? And it's not other people's job to like you or other people's job to make you happy. It's your job and your own responsibility to like yourself and do what makes you happy, right?
Love this.
It's not other people's job to complete you, right? Or make
Yes.
you feel, oh, it's, you know, we often hear the terms when it comes to relationship, which is find your other half, find your better half. To be honest, I don't like that terms because I always tell my clients, you are not a half, right? You are more than enough.
Yes.
But a lot of people also tell me, you know, ask me, Joyan, isn't it selfish when we love ourselves? I heard this so many times, and the answer is always no. You are only selfish if you don't love yourself, because you need you. You need you more than you need anyone else in the world. At the end of the day, you are the only person who won't leave you, right? And like you said earlier, we spend time with ourselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I don't care whether you are in a relationship or not, whether you are married or not, I don't care. Whether you have someone send you good morning text or not, I don't care. You wake up with yourself every single day. And so my question for people who are watching this right now is that, why not focus on loving yourself first? Why not focus on building and nurturing this relationship with yourself? Because this is the most important relationship in your life, right? So that's what I really want people who are listening to this to really understand, that self-love is not selfish. Because remember when we fly on the airplane, right? The flight attendant instructs you, in the case of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. And why is this important? Because you if you run out of oxygen yourself, then you are not going to help anyone else, right, with the oxygen mask. So it means you can't give what you don't have. If you don't genuinely love yourself, if you don't love who you are as a person, you can't love others, and you can't attract people who love you just as you are. So yeah, that's what I really want to share.
I love this so much, so much. I've actually had a discussion with one of my friends not long ago. Okay. She went through a very long relationship, and, they had to divorce eventually because they weren't happy. And I did tell her, and this shocked her at first, but then once I explained, she understood. I did tell her that we all attract what we deserve. And yes, she was quite shocked, meaning, what do I mean? She attracted all those bad experiences with her partner and all of that. And I said, consciously or unconsciously, we still attract those things. So whether we decide to actually wake up and embrace all these things, or we decide to be like a sleepwalker and just, react to whatever is happening around us, at the end of the day, we still attract those. And it all depends, on our self-love and self-image, because whatever is happening around us is a reflection of that. Once she understood this, my explanation, then she, she started analyzing it a bit better. And she did say that she never thought of choosing anything else. She never thought she had the option of actually choosing or influencing in any way whatever happens around her, because she was, for many years, in the react mode. Mm-hmm. And, in waiting for others to love her and waiting for others to give her what her soul needed. But, now that she has spent some time alone, and she has, reflected on this as well, she started working on her self-love first. Because at the end of the day, as you say, you go to bed with yourself, you wake up with your own self. And I always say that, if your love tank is not full enough, how can you give love to others? And I've seen this, in so many people that wanted to be in a relationship so someone could love them, but they would not love themselves. And many times I told them, like, okay, if that person comes today and they love you for 2 days, it's great. But what if they, the third day, they don't love you anymore at the same intensity that you want? Because what people don't really realize is that the love we get from others outside of us, it will never be enough for ourselves. We will always want to have more of it, and to have it all the time. Whereas if we work on our self-image and self-love, we have it all the time. We don't need it from anybody else. If someone else comes along and they want to add to that, then it's great, it's just multiplied. But if they don't, that is okay as well, because you still have enough love within you. So thank you for your very, very, very wise words today. It was amazing talking to you. I feel like we could talk about this for ages, really.
Yeah, we could. Definitely.
But before we go, if you would just let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you if they want to, talk a bit more about self-love and maybe even get coaching from you.
Sure. I'm mostly active on my Instagram, so they can follow me at joyan.chant. I'm not sure whether you put the link below, but joyan.chant, that's where they can find me on Instagram. And I have all the links on my bio, so they can just click the link and they can see. I have a podcast, a weekly podcast. So my podcast link is there, my website is there, my coaching program is there, everything is there. So they can just find me on Instagram because that is where I'm mostly active. Yeah.
Perfect. And I will leave the link for that as well in the description box below, alongside with all the Better Topics links, where you can get the game, how you can get it, and also our emails. If you have any other questions, just make sure to drop us a line either to me or to Joyan as well. Thank you so much for coming today on our channel, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this.